Hello, everyone. I hope that we're live now. There is no confirmation, though, but if there's someone, just send me a message in the chat if you can hear me. This is Ondrej. Welcome to this workshop where we're going to look at some of the more advanced stuff with Kontent and Gatsby. Let's see. Yeah, hopefully this is working. First of all, thanks for joining. I hope you're enjoying GatsbyConf as much as I did yesterday. Today I was working on the workshop so that we have everything prepared. I hope that you also enjoyed the Richard's workshop that was earlier. This one is going to be a bit more advanced. Now I have Ondrej here. Let me add him to the stream as well. Hello, can you hear me, Ondrej? Nice. He's the Gatsby master of Kontent. So if you have any questions, feel free to look at the QA panel, post the questions there. If there's anything, we'll be happy to answer them. Ondrej, I'm going to remove you from the stream, right? Perfect. Now I'm going to add my desktop here. Now, first of my apologies is I'm using a super wide monitor, so I'm just going to have to share one window at a time. So when I switch from Chrome back to Visual Studio Code, it's going to take me a few seconds, so please bear with me. But that should be the only thing that's going to be slowing us down. Overall, I would like to say for the past week that I was preparing the workshop, I had a very hard time concentrating on stuff because of what's happening in Ukraine. So please bear with the workshop. If there's something not working, it's probably my fault. But hopefully we're gonna have some fun. I always like when things go wrong a bit when we're live, because then you see exactly how to debug stuff and how to get things working. So in order to move on, I want to show you what we're going to be working on. This is a website that I was creating. Obviously, it's where my thoughts were during the past week. Overall, it's a very simple landing page with 3 components. I'm going to show you all the code. I'm going to take you through the whole process of setting the content up in Kontent. First, good information and important information. If you don't want to sign up for Kontent, you don't have an empty project ready, you don't want to, for whatever reasons, provide your email address, you don't have to. The main thing that we're going to be doing today is going to be in code. So we're going to look at Visual Studio Code. We're going to do some coding. If you don't want to sign into Kontent and work on content types, add the content in, you don't have to. I'm going to give you my project ID, and you can consume the content as I will be working on during the workshop. All right. So first of all, what I want to show you is there is a GitHub repo. I created it just a few minutes ago. It's github.com/ondrebus/GatsbyConf Workshop. Ondrej, maybe if you can take that and add it to the chat window so that people don't have to write it in their URLs. Make sure to clone that project. It's the basis of what we're going to be working on. It's based on the Gatsby minimal TypeScript starter. A very simple project. I started from scratch, so no extra stuff in there. And what we're going to be doing today are 3 things. First, we're going to look at the project. We're going to add some components in, and we're going to make sure that the components are rendered through the rich text component. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a landing page, marketing landing page in Kontent, and we're going to make sure that the page is properly rendered with components in the Gatsby implementation. That's first thing. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to add a new language. So by default, we're going to start in English, and we're going to add another language. My choice would be Czech, but you can add any language that you want. So we're going to add another language, and I'm going to show you how you can work with multiple languages in Gatsby, because it's a bit of a complicated task if you think about it a bit more deeply. So we're going to generate some pages in a different language. And when that is ready, we're going to enable visual editing of the website. So we're going to add Web Spotlight into the site, and we're going to try to see what the editor experience looks like. Now, this workshop, I'm not going to deploy it to Gatsby Cloud because I don't think we have time for that. So when we're looking at Web Spotlight, I'm going to always have to rebuild the whole thing. but we can talk a bit more about that as we approach that use case. So first of all, let's clone this this GitHub repo. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. During that, I'm going to switch my window to Visual Studio. So give me a second here. I'm going to remove that from the stream. And I'm going to add the Visual Studio right in. Perfect. So hopefully you can see the Visual Studio now. I'm going to remove myself from the stream so that you can see the whole thing. If it's not readable, let me know. I can make this bigger, but I think that this should be fine. When you clone the repo, you're going to see this. This is a standard Gatsby site. It's got some components, pages, templates, and so on. We don't need to look at this one for now. So when you first thing what we're going to do is run npm-i to install the node packages. This is going to take a while, I guess. I'm on a Wi-Fi, so it probably is going to take a bit more for me. Good thing to know is that this project is, I prepared some of the components for you so that we don't have to go through every single thing and debug and lose time on the little details. So we're going to be looking at mainly at the rich text resolution, right? So we already have some components ready here. What I'm going to do once the npm packages are installed, I'm going to also install the content source plugin. Content source plugin is something that takes all the content from your project in Content by Kentico. It's going to create the Gatsby nodes from all the content you have in the system, and you can then use GraphQL to query for data. We're going to look at that in a second. And then I'm going to show you how to create content types on the content side. So if you're looking at the project while it's installing packages, we don't need to look at that for too long. What we can do is look at the workshop files, and there are some texts. I have a few images. We're going to use all of them, but there are also some texts. So as we're creating the content types and adding content in, you don't have to Google for stuff. It's all here. You can just copy paste it. I'm going to be doing the same thing. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating 4 content types. First one is going to be for a landing page. So the aim is that the marketers can go in and create their own landing pages, right, without any need of developers. So we're going to create a landing page that contains a field that is called content. It's going to be a rich text field. People can go in and add any component they want. They can set it up. They can adjust the landing page to their liking using components. So those are the 3 additional content types here. We're going to be looking at the component CTA, that's call to action, very simple button with some texts. There's a hero image or hero component that generally contains just a headline and some texts, an image, and the simple text with image that contains only these 3 components. Now, when I was working on the site, I'm not a CSS master, to be honest. So I used the Tailwind CSS to build a very simple landing page. Now, I don't know if I can find the source for that page. But it's just one short Google away. So maybe I can send you the link to that page after. But just so you know, it's going to look like this. Yeah, we don't need to spend any time on the CSS. It's going to look like this when we have everything ready. All the CSS styles are in place. Perfect. So this is taking a bit longer than I expected. So I'm going to leave this work for now. And what we can do is we can move back to content and actually start working on the content types before this actually finishes. So I'm just going to do the little magic again. So I'm going to remove this from the stream, and I'm going to share Chrome again. Another window, hopefully. So yes, I'm going to go back to GitHub, hopefully. Perfect, there we go. And we're going to switch to content, right? So this is when you sign up for content or create a new project, this is what you're gonna see. This is an empty project, no content anywhere. We can browse content, but they're there. So yeah, we can start creating new content items. But first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to create content models. Now I'm going to try to make this a bit bigger so you can see this. Perfect. As I said, there are 4 content types we need to create. I'm going to start with the first one. That's the landing page. So let's call this one landing page. I hope, let me open this on the next screen so that I don't have to switch from one to another all the time. Or actually, yeah, let me just do this. Perfect. So first, we're going to add a title. So our landing page has a title. It's also required for a URL slug. So URL slugs need to be generated from something. So the title is something that actually identifies the page. Another thing that I'm going to add is content. That's the rich text element, as I was talking about it. So we're going to add that here. And we're going to call that content. Now for rich texts, this is a pretty variable field. Editors can go in and add a lot of things in there. So what you want to do is you want to limit what can be actually inputted in that field. So I'm only going to allow text, and I'm going to allow components and items, but I don't have them in the system yet. So you see there is all types, but I don't have any other types that I can use, right? So I'm just going to leave this as it is, but I'm going to have to change it a bit later. And then I'm going to add a URL slug. Now, URL slug is going to identify where that page lives on my site. So I'm going to call it URL slug. This is, of course, going to be required because it doesn't make sense to have a landing page without URL slug. And it's going to be generated based on the title. And then we can save changes. Perfect. Our first content type is ready. In the meantime, I'm going to send into chat the project ID. We're going to need it later. So let me just take it from the URL, or you can find it in project settings and API keys. If you're working on it as I'm adding it, then yeah, this is settings API keys. Here it is. So I'm going to send that into the chat. There it goes. And let's move on. Let's create some of the components, right? So let's create first one. And we're going to call that component Cta. Now, the reason why I'm adding a prefix component here is that the editor knows clearly that this is something that is living inside another page, right? It's very easy to visually distinguish the components from other content types. That's the only reason. Yeah, there is nothing else here. So I'm going to add here a headline. I'm going to add here a subheadline. Fine. Yeah. So just so you know what we're working on, it's when you look at our site, a hero is something that you always see on every page, right? And look at for developers, for example. Well, my computer is coping with the load. So this is the hero. Yeah. There is the headline. There is a subheadline, and there is a Cta button. Yeah. So that's what we are doing right now. So headline, subheadline. Now, what is usually useful in these cases is to limit this thing. Otherwise, editors get too creative at times. So we can limit headline to, let's say, 7 words. And we can limit subheadline to, let's say, I don't know, 15 words, something like that. Next thing, we need button text. So let's add that here. Now the UI is not ideal because I have a zoom 150% for visibility, so it's a kind of too big, but it's better for readability, I assume. So button text, we're gonna make this required, max 5 words, and the last thing is gonna be button link, and we're gonna do the same thing. This is gonna be required. But in this case, I don't want to limit the words because this is essentially going to be a URL, right? So we're going to make this a match a specific pattern. And what you can do here is you can provide a custom pattern in terms of regex. So you can add a regular expression here. ideally with a good explanation, because editors, as surprising as it is, they don't understand regexes. Or you can use one that's already pre-filled. So I'm going to use a web URL, which essentially just requires you to use HTTPS and then your URL. So let's save this. And again, if I'm a bit too quick, let me know. Otherwise, you'll find all the fields and the names of the components in the GitHub repo. If you cloned it, in the workshop files, there's a texts.txt where you will find all of the things that I'm doing now. All right? So you can look at that there. Or you can use my project ID as I'm working on it. Perfect. Now let's add another component. That's going to be the hero component this time. So again, component hero. We're going to add again a headline. Make this required. 5 or 7 words. I think we did 7 words before. Then we're going to do. Oh, actually, right now we're working on hero. Before we were working on the CTA. So forgive me for that. This is the hero component. So again, subheadline. Now, a good thing to point out is that as I'm creating these elements, the system is automatically creating code names behind. And the implementation, the components that are in the implementation that you cloned, those elements, code names are kind of baked in. So if you change something here, if you call this a header instead of headline, just make sure to adjust it in the component as well. I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. Just keep that in mind if you have a different wording there. So subheadline, we're going to limit that to 15 words. Another thing is going to be CTA text. CTA text. Again, require that, say to 5 words. And the last thing is, or not the last thing, there's also an image. So the CTA link, we're going to make that required. Again, match a specific pattern and make this one web URL. And the last thing here is going to be an asset. So we want to have a hero image, nice image that shows what we want to show. So asset, now in assets, so what I want to do is I'm going to make this required, and I'm going to make this exactly one item, right? So you can limit the asset that's going to be used here to exactly one thing. Now, what's going to happen here, if your editor don't comply with these requirements, it doesn't mean that the item won't be saved. They just wouldn't be able to publish it. Yeah. So if they want to add 3 images and they can't decide now which one to use, they can add all of them there. But before they can publish the item, they need to choose one. Yeah. And this means that in the implementation, you can safely assume that there's going to be an array, and there's always going to be one item in that array. Yeah. So those are the restrictions here. So let's save that. And the last component is going to be text with image. So let's create that. Component text with image. I'm going to create here, and again, a headline. Every component has a headline. Nice pattern that we have over there. So 7 words. We're going to add a text here. Now the text is going to be a rich text. Because in this case, I want editors to be able to use different headings, maybe do more paragraphs and so on. So I'm just going to make this one text. But I definitely don't want to have any tables, any images, or any components in this rich text, right? So the resolution of this rich text is going to get much easier in this case. Let's require this. And let's add the last thing here, because it's a text with image. So we're going to add and we're going to name this. We're going to make it required and make it exactly one asset. Perfect. So let's save that. And just like that, we have our content model ready. Now, what we can do is, first of all, we can look at the results of our work. We can pat ourselves on the back. It looks very nice. And there is still one change that I need to do because I created the landing page content type as the first one. So now I want to actually limit the content rich text that we're going to be using. That's the basis. It's the base container for the whole website. I want to limit that to text, and I want to limit the components because previously we didn't have any here. But now we created 3 components, so we can say that only these 3 are going to be used here, right? So component CTA, hero, and text with image. Again, if an editor comes in and they want to add a different content types here, they can do that, but they just cannot publish the item with those in. So I'm going to save this. Perfect. It's all changed, saved. And now I'm going back to content repository because now I want to create some actual content. So I'm going to create a new here. And I want to create a landing page, right? The one that I already defined how it should look like. That's the only page that I'm going to be using here. Now I'm going to name this. So let's call this one Marketer's Landing Page. Not the best name. I'm not the best with names. You should see my variables, but I guess it's the same with all developers. So forgive me for that. Let's call this MKTLP, Marketer Landing Page. Now the URL flag was auto-generated based on that. If I'm going to be changing that, let's say Marketer's Landing Page, the URL flag will regenerate. Yeah, this only happens until you publish it or until you touch the URL flag. Yeah, once that happens, it's not going to do anything. So let's say we want to do marketer LP. See, this is a custom value. Now it's not going to be changing anymore. And what we can do for content here is we can start building the page. So let's want to add a component. So this you can of course write here, hello world. But that's too basic use case. We can add components here. So this actually inserts a new component. There are 2 icons here. The component is something that lives only in the scope of this page. So if I add a hero component here, it's not going to be available anywhere else. If you actually want to add something that's going to be living on multiple landing pages, you can add it as an existing item or reusable item. That's a great use case for Cta buttons, for example, if you have the same everywhere. In this case, I want to create just a hero component. And it's going to live only in the scope of this page. So I'm going to create the component here. And you see, I need to provide data for all of these fields. Now, I'm going to, again, use the same texts from the text.txt file. So if you're doing that as well, feel free to copy and paste that. I'm going to write it down so that I give you a bit more time to do that. So in the hero, let's say we're looking at Ukraine's website, right? So this is how the website should look like. This is the hero component right here. So I'm going to be filling these texts in. So let's switch back. The headline is going to be wonderful country with you. Oops. Feature. The headline is going to be Ukraine's national colors, referred to with golden fields and blue sky. The CTA text is going to be show me more. And the CTA link is actually taking you to a Google search for Ukraine's nature. Now add some image for the hero button, right? I'm going to browse. I don't know if you can see that. No, you can't. Okay, so I'm just going to browse through my drive and select an image that is in the workshop files. Yeah, it's called flagcolors.jpg. So feel free to use the same one. I'm just going to need a second to locate that. So just give me a second here. Yeah, this is the right one. So I'm going to add a flag colors here. So now we have the image in there. What is a cool thing that you can do is you can adjust the image. Now, right now, if you're an editor, you uploaded an image into the system, but you can use it on multiple pages, right? On multiple landing pages, whatever. If you do this, if you click on the Customize button, that's right here and at the top of the image, if you click on that, it's going to adjust the image only for this use case. Yeah. So in this case, I'm not going to be doing anything because the image looks good as it is. But you can adjust the width, height, you can adjust the scale of the image, and it's going to be only for this use. So the original image will stay untouched. Now we have this one ready. So what we can do is start adding more components. So I'm going to add here another one. Oh, I think now I did an extra space here. So I'm just going to add the cursor here. Yeah, this is not ideal. There we go. It's too big, so I have to do some magic here. So this was the hero. Now let's add a text with image. Let's add the component here. And again, I'm just going to take what I have in the text.txt. I think it's going to be the tunnel of love. By the way, I opened the tunnel of love today for the first time. I had no idea that something like this is in Ukraine. It's very cool. Now let me upload the image so you can look how it looks like. It's really cool. So I added the image here and some text and a headline. Now look at that image. So there's actually a railway that's inside of a green tunnel. Very cool stuff. So now we have image here, we have text, we have a headline. So we can add the last component that we're gonna need, and that is the Cta button. So again, I'm adding a component that is living only in the scope of this landing page. Now you see that I can add content types. I can add even a landing page here. That's exactly as I said before. If the editor wants, they have the possibility of adding stuff that's not accepted here, but as a result, they won't be able to publish. So I'm going to add a component CTA here. And let's add some texts there. So the first one is donate CTA. Let's call that, or actually, I think I'm one off. Ukraine needs our help. Add here subheadline, help Ukraine preserve its natural wonders. And then the CTA is going to be donate. And the URL is for the page, official page on GatsbyConf. So there are the links for various organizations there. So now we have the CTA ready. So this is how the landing page looks like for now. We have 3 components. Let me just make this a bit nicer. We have 3 components. We have the hero image, we have text with image, and we have a CTA. Now, of course, I can move this around, yeah, if I want. But I think that this order actually makes sense. And it's going to be available at marketer-lp. So I think that we are quite ready here. I'm going to publish this. Now, when I publish something, it's not available at that second. It takes a few seconds for the content to travel through the internal mechanisms to the CDN. So it can take a few seconds until it's distributed on all the nodes. But hopefully we should be fine by now. What I'm going to show you now is how you can verify that the content is there. So I'm going to look at the endpoint and take the API key. So if you do deliver.content.ai/the project ID/items, you should see a JSON of all these items. So you see there's my marketer's landing page. There's the rich text, and there are some components in there. So feel free to check it out yourself. It's deliver.content.ai/the project ID. I think we have it in the chat, so you can look for yourself /items. Everything should be in there. Perfect. Now that's all we're gonna need for now in content. So what we can do I'm going to go back here and I'm going to switch back to Visual Studio Code. So just give me a second. Okay, there we go. Add to stream, and here we are. So I'm going to make this one again bigger. It's much more interesting than my face talking. So this is what we did. Now, what's going on here? This is still working on the NPMI. Wow, okay. That's unexpected. Let me try that again. Oh, I guess I have an old version of NPM. So I'm usually using my Mac, but right now I'm on Windows, so maybe that's the issue. I should have probably tried it out before. Anyway, hopefully this is going to work now. What I wanted to show you here first is that there are components that directly correspond to the content that we just created. So I created a landing page. We're going to look at that in a second, but that landing page had three components. It was a hero, it was a text with image, and it was a Cta button. So here, this is just the markup that I got from the Tailwind template. So if you want to take a look, feel free to do that. The important thing to know is that it expects the data from content, the elements and the system. I'm going to show this to you as soon as I'm able to. Hopefully this is going to work. But first I need to install the plugin and configure it. So until this runs, I'm going to actually, so there's a, if you look at the gatsby-config.js, this is a place where you configure the plugin. So we install it. Let me just open a new terminal here. The way we install it is by npm I. Oh, this is very slow. Come on. Okay, I'm not doing anything. It just writes what I typed a minute ago. Okay, so npm I, and we're gonna need okay, let me see if there is something wrong with this computer. Yeah, this is very slow, very slow. Google Chrome. Okay, Chrome is the one doing that, and source tree. Okay, I'm gonna kill source tree for now. We don't need Git for now. Okay, there we go. It should get a bit better now. So we need to install the content source package. So that's npm I. It's at Kentico / Gatsby source content. Now, this is like a typewriter. I hope that the npm I will be faster. That's still installing stuff. Okay, in the meantime, I'm gonna copy and paste the configuration of the plugin. Now, Ondrej, if you can you please send the GitHub link to the chat so that people can look at the repo? I'm going to quickly get the configuration section. There we go. Oops. Not p-content, just content. But you can do that on your own without my Visual Studio Code. So when you install that, you're gonna need this section. So I just copied this from the GitHub repo, which should be in the chat right now. So feel free to do the same. It's right at the top under how to install section. And the only thing that you need to do here is, well, obviously name the plugin, and then provide the project ID. Now, again, if you're working on your own project, feel free to use your project ID. If you want to use my content, then use my project ID. I'm going to copy the project ID from content. So we should have that here. And that's the only thing I need to do. When we're working with a blank project, the language code name is always default. If you change that to EN or any other language code name, make sure to reflect that here as well. This actually tells the source plugin which content in which language it should fetch. So right now the default is fine, and I'm going to save this and look at this. Okay, this is taking way too long. Oh, come on, content. I'm going to run this as soon as that one is done, which will probably take us a few minutes. So in the meantime, when you have this ready, and when you run Gatsby develop or npm run develop, oh, is this too small? Is it better? Perfect. All right. Sorry for that. So here we go. So if you have this in place and you run the npm run develop, I think it's npm run develop. You can check in package.json. Yeah. So this runs Gatsby develop. The website is probably not going to work, but you should get access to the Graphql, where you will see all of the content that's coming from content. I'm going to run that in a second as soon as this finishes. I don't know why is it that slow. But in the meantime, we can take a look at our template. So here is a landing page template that we're going to essentially use for generating the landing page. So how this is going to work is, you don't know at the time of implementation right now, we don't know how many pages the marketers are going to create, right? We only know that there are landing pages, that the landing page has a rich text element called content. And the rich text element can have up to 3 components, or it can have up to 1 million components, but only 3 types of components. So what we're going to need here is we're going to need to provide a template that will be used for every single landing page, and it's going to generate a static file. Now, we could use file system route API and create the page under pages with a special syntax. The thing is, it does not play nice with languages. So if you want to generate languages like /en/ the URL flag of the page, or you want to do some other logic around creating these pages, my experience is the file system route API is not the best. So what I did is I prepared a template for us to create it here, and actually use Gatsby node. Gatsby nodes create pages to handle everything else. So you see I prepared the GraphQL here. We're going to add a GraphQL query here. And then we're going to create those pages on their specific URLs. So, but for that, I will be happy to run the GraphQL. I cannot build that query myself. unfortunately. So let's see if this is gonna be finalized soon. Other than that, you should see the index page. If you run the starter, that should be working fine. And right. So in the meantime, do we have any questions in the chat, or is everything okay? No questions? Perfect. So I don't know how to figure out how long this is going to take. Like, I think that it's at the letter W, so we should be close to an end. But it's probably downloading the whole internet, so it usually takes a second. Yeah, we're at WS, so this should be quite quick now. Is anybody else also waiting for node modules? Let me know in the chat. This is always pain. Right, but what we can do is we can start building the structure here. So essentially what we want to do is have a single rich text element component here that we're gonna feed data, and it's gonna resolve all the components for us. So essentially what we're gonna definitely need is to import all the components in here in the landing page template. So that's the CTA, hero, and text with image. So might as well do that. Components/CTA, and we're gonna need the same thing for hero and for the text with image. Not used anywhere, but that's fine. We're gonna use that in a second. And well, for this, I really need the GraphQL. So come on, node modules. We can do that. Ondrej, do you know if is there a way how we can speed this up a bit? No? That's what I was afraid of. It's always looking like it's gonna be almost finished. Oh, there we go. You see that? It's finally done. Wow. So now let's try another thing. npm run develop. Oh, yeah, but I didn't save this, so this should be fine. Let's see if this is gonna work. Maybe I left some thing that would break the build, but yeah, stop that. I forgot to add the source plugin. So I need to add Kentico Gatsby source content. I hope this is correct. So we need to add that package. We're gonna need 2 additional packages in a second, but for now, I think that we should be fine with just this one. I hope this is gonna be a bit quicker than the previous one. Now, just so you know, for now, there is also a html.js file. It's not relevant to what we are doing right in this workshop, but it has some JavaScript that was required for the Tailwind template. I think it does something with the header. So in case you're wondering about the html.js, it's there exactly for that reason, nothing more. And let me see if there is anything else? No. Yeah, there's a one styles file. Again, it just changes the gradient of the website, but nothing that would be required or anything. There we go. So the content source plugin is installed. Oops, clear. And let's see, npm run develop. This usually takes, again, a few seconds at the first start. What this does is it connects to content, downloads all the data, transforms them into Gatsby nodes, and then allows us and all our components to actually query for that data. For that reason, when we do a change in content, we need to rebuild the Gatsby site. There is a way how you can enable incremental builds, also locally with experimental flags. I don't want to do that in this workshop, but just so you know, it's possible. The same goes for production builds, right? If you want, it's possible. We've had a very nice experience with Gatsby Cloud in that sense, that whenever something changes, content changes, the system sends a webhook request to Gatsby Cloud, and the project is incrementally rebuilt. Oh, there we go. We have some error here. Cannot parse the unexpected character. What is going on here? Failed at Gatsby content sample one develop script. Ondrej, do you have any idea what this is about? I probably have something wrong somewhere, but it's not telling me which file it is. Oh, Gatsby node. Okay, Gatsby node. Yeah, that's about right. This is, of course, not correct. So we're gonna comment this whole thing out. We don't need it for now. Yeah, just gonna copy comment everything out. Let's see if this is the problem. Just so you know, for you who did not join from the start, I'm not talking to myself when I call myself Ondrej, but there's another Ondrej on the call. You probably don't see him right now, but he's here answering your questions in the chat if there are any. And it's just a coincidence that we're named the same way. Yeah, I'm not crazy, just in case it looks like that. All right, here's another error here. Operation not permitted. Unable to copy site files to cache. Okay. The dot cache is right here. Unlink cache common.js server utils. Failed to remove cache files. All right, I can help you with that. Let's try it again. I'm happy that right now we're solving Gatsby issues, right? I hope that these are not related to content, probably to my computer, but the content issues are or can still come. But the good thing is I never experienced anything like this earlier today. Oh, should I make this bigger? Is this big enough? Oh, okay, I'm gonna make this bigger. You don't need to look at me while this is running. All right, perfect. So we've got unexpected end of file here. That's correct because my template is not in a savable state. But hopefully we're gonna be able to run some stuff and get into the Graphql. I really need that to build my page query here. But my experience is that when we get to a building development bundle, it usually works. So hopefully it's gonna be the case. Slowly switch to Chrome. Okay, now it got stuck. Okay, I'm slowly going to I think I should have pre-recorded this. But you see that we're live. Okay, here we go. Localhost 8000, GraphQL. So let me just switch to that finally. So I'm going to remove this from the stream. I'm going to add another window with the graphical. Perfect. So hopefully you can see that now. Whew, a long way we've made here. So hopefully this is visible. I hope it is. I'm going to delete this, and we're going to look at what we can do here. So you see that when you connect the project, the content project, to the Gatsby instance, you get all of these things like all content item component CTA, all content item landing page. These are your content types. And when you look at these, when you open that or expand that, you see all the data that you can get from the Gatsby node storage. Yeah. For us, we're going to work with the landing page because the components, even though they can live on their own, we're only interested in them because of the landing page, right? So what we're looking for our template are the marketers' landing pages. So we're looking for landing page. And for the template, we're actually not looking for all. We're looking for only a specific content item. So we're looking at content item landing page because the template is working with a single one. Now, when Gatsby creates those pages, it lets you query them based on an ID. So the ID that you see here, this ID is not coming from content. This is something that identifies the Gatsby node. If you're looking for ID that's coming from content, it's under system ID. So make sure to distinguish these two. It's very different usage, but when we're generating pages, we're definitely going to need this ID, the Gatsby node ID. So let's use that. Why is it showing the all content item article? No, we don't want that. Only content item landing page. Now, in this case, for our page, what we're gonna need is definitely a slug, right? That's what identifies the page. So that's the first thing that we're gonna need. Then what we're gonna need is the content that's holding all our components. So we're gonna need that. And if we look at value, if I run this, you see there is the JSON is not very readable, but you see that in content and value, there's already some stuff here. There are some objects. Object actually just points to an item that's just referenced. Yeah, it's not directly there, but it's just referenced. And what we're gonna need, apart from just the value, we're going to need a modular content. That's actually that's the storage for the referenced items. So we're looking for modular content, and you see here that we already have the three types here. There's the CTA, hero, and text with image. So we're gonna want all of these components. So in case there is a component like that in our landing page, we're instructing Gatsby, give me the data about that component. Now, what we're gonna need for a CTA is obviously the button link. We're going to need the button text. We're going to need the headline and subheadline as well. So pretty much everything that we have under elements. We don't need the Gatsby node ID. That's redundant information, but we will definitely want to get the system ID because that's the way how we resolve components. Or it's a code name. I'm not sure now. Ondrej, is it a codename or an ID? Do you know from the top of your head? Yeah, I think it's codename. But just to be sure, let's leave both of them here. So we're gonna need a codename and ID of all of these. So we need to click through all of the data that we're potentially going to need, right? So we need codename ID. We need for the hero the CTA link. We want the CTA text. We want the headline. We want the image, For the image, we are actually looking only for the URL. Of course, if you want to use the Gatsby image, you're probably, if you do, just click through and take all of those. And we're gonna need the subheadline, again, just the value. We don't need the ID, and we will again take codename and ID from the system. So you see there's the pattern is quite similar for all of these. So again, for text with image, we're gonna just take value. We're gonna take the image URL, and we're gonna take the value from text. Now in this case, if you remember, when we were creating the text with image, we said that in that content type, in that rich text field, we disallowed the tables, we disallowed images, we disallowed components. So as a result, we don't really need to do any resolving because the p tags, the paragraphs and bold texts and links, those are all resolved because there is not much to resolve, right? So in that case, we don't need the modular content. We only need the value. At some point, when we want to add links, so like if you want to link from the rich text to another content item that's living in content as well, so we're linking two items to each other. In that case, we're gonna need links. So I'm just gonna click through that now. But if you're using just external links, you don't need that. Yeah, I'm doing that only for future when we're gonna need it. And apart from elements, we again want codename and ID of system. And I think that we are done. I don't think we need an ID here. And we will probably need a language, but I'm going to leave it like this. We're going to base this on an ID. So we're going to make this, let's say, ID. And we're going to fill that externally, in the template. But this is how our query looks like. So I wouldn't be able to write this on my own, but using this interface, it's actually. I'm not sure if we can send this to the chat to see. I can try that actually. Let's see. Oh no, limit 250 characters. So I cannot do that. But it should be quite easy if you just go through this and click on these things that we'll need. It should be quite easy to do that. Now, when we have this, let me switch back to Visual Studio. And we're looking at template. Perfect. And here, I'm just going to add, because this is GraphQL, I don't know why I don't have the nice syntax highlighting here. But anyway, I'm just going to paste it here. And we're definitely going to need, you cannot start with content item landing page, right? You need to start with query. And there is a parameter, string ID, that's actually coming from Gatsby itself. So we don't have to worry about that. It's going to be pre-filled for us. The only thing we need to worry about is to have the content item landing page filtered by that. So it's not going to be this, but just the variable. Right? That's the only thing we need to do. And of course, we started a query here, so I'm going to need to end it at the end. So that's essentially all we're going to need for this page in terms of data, right? Let me just stop this for now. And now we can focus on building the landing page template. Now, what we're going to need here is we're going to need to return something. Like this. This works. First, now he doesn't like. Okay, Cta is declared. This doesn't mean anything. Going to be applied to types element and number. Of course, let's just remove this. Essentially, this component should work. Yeah, landing page template, hello world should be all good. Now we do have a layout here. There's a component. Yes, Ondrej, is there something? You can talk, you know? Oh, there is nothing. Sorry for that. That's my mistake. I'm sorry. So again, I'll try to do it again. I created a page query here. This is the page template, right? We're under templates. We're in the landing page template. And I just copy pasted the query here under page query. Now, of course, I added the query ID string. This is something that comes from Gatsby. It's just a parameter for GraphQL query. So here we have the query. And just need to add one extra bracket here because I opened the bracket here with query ID string. Yeah, I hope you can see everything now. Perfect. Cool. So yeah, that's essentially how it works. And now we can switch back to the component, how it should work. Yeah. So I created here just the hello world. Of course, this doesn't do anything. So I'm going to start building that with importing layout component from components and layout. Right, the component is there. If you want to take a look at it, it's importing some style sheets. It's essentially doing some stuff with Content Smart Link. I'm going to get to that a bit later. But otherwise, it just adds some style sheets in the header of the page or of the site, and just provides a wrapper around its children. So no more functionality. And here we could return hello world, but let's try to do something a bit more interesting. So let's start with layout. And when we have the layout here, we're also going to need another component. Exported member layout. Oh, okay. I think the same will apply to all these components, but we'll get there. I'm also going to import navigation from components nav. Right now, this is just a markup. Yeah, there is no logic in there. So just a markup that contains some menu. And the last thing that we need here is the rich text element. That's the resolution, right, that we talked about. Now, first of all, before I actually do that, we're going to need another package. The package is called Kentico /Gatsby-content-components. Now, Ondrej, if you can, please send a link to the GitHub repo in the chat. So just so you understand, with Content, there are two packages that you usually need for a Gatsby site. First of them is the source package, the source plugin that essentially just gets the data from Content into your Gatsby site. It's very plain. It's the fastest source plugin there is because it's not doing too many things and the CDN is fast. But functionality ends there. So if you need other functionalities like the rich text resolution, you need to install another package that, again, does only that. Yeah. So it's easy to plug in and remove stuff that you only need or you don't want to have it in your bundle. You don't need to have it there. So I'm going to install it. Maybe I should have confirmed this before I started the explanation. Now we're going to have to wait for this. But just so you know, I'm just going to switch quickly to the GitHub repo to show you how this works. So let me just remove this from the stream. And I'm going to add this window here. And I'm going to add it to the stream again. Perfect. So hopefully you can you can see it now. Sorry for that before. Yes, I'm going to make this bigger. Now, here we are at the Gatsby source plugin for Content by Kentico repo. So let's go back into Content Gatsby packages. That's probably the URL that you're seeing in the chat right now. And see, there are these two packages. First one is the source content plugin. Second one is Gatsby content components. So that's the one that we are looking for. So you can install it just like I did. We don't need the Gatsby plugin image right now, but it may be a dependency. I'm not sure. So you may need to install that as well. But what we're gonna need is the rich text element component. Now, when you look at the usage, it's quite straightforward, really. It's just one component that you only provide this data to. And I know that it looks like a lot of data. I'm gonna make this a bit bigger again. It looks like a lot of data, but all of this data are already provided by the content source plugin. So the only thing you need to do is provide the data to the component and essentially say it or implement here what you want in terms of the resolution. So in this case, if you want to resolve images, you can do that. If you want to resolve links, you can do that as well. But if you don't need to do that, you don't need to do that. You can just omit this whole attribute and just use it with other data. I'm going to show you how that works. So I'm just going to copy the whole thing in the code. You can do the same, or you can just do what I'm doing. It's fine. So I'm going to add that here. See, it doesn't look very nice, but we're going to fix that quickly. Oh, there's an error here. Maybe I made a typo. Oh, and you're looking at my GitHub again. So sorry, I have to switch to Visual Studio. But I'm going to copy this as well. So let's go back and hope you can see that now. Perfect. So there seems to be a bug, or that's probably a typo on my part. I'm just going to try to see what's going on. Oh, Gatsby. So that's that's my typo. Sorry for that. Gatsby content components, and the other one was Gatsby. What was it? Gatsby image plugin. I'm going to install it just to be on the safe side. Gatsby plugin image. So Gatsby plugin image. Right. So this is the first thing that you see in the repos README. You can just copy paste it, install it, and then we should be able to use the rich text element. Now, I copy pasted it from the docs here. I'm gonna remove all of these resolvers because we don't need them for now. And I'm gonna add some stuff on my own in there. So there's a rich text element. Of course, I'm still installing the packages, so that's why it's underlined. But what we need here, let's look at what we are getting here. So we're using the content item landing page, right? So all the data will be under that. So we can already do that here. Say that there is a constant called content, and it's coming from data. And then we start, with the Graphql query. So content item landing page dot elements and dot content. How did I figure this out? The data is something that comes, by default by Gatsby from the Graphql query. And then we're going through the Graphql query. So first is content item landing page. Then we are looking at elements. And then there is the content rich text field. So this is the content. This is the element of the content type that we are looking for the resolution, right? So elements, content, and a value will be in a second. But you see content item landing page, elements, and content. Perfect. Now this is already installed, so I think that we can import it. See, just control and dot, and it offers you import rich text element from module Kentico Gatsby content components. Perfect. Now you see that we need to provide a value, and our value comes from content.value. So this is already the element data. And obviously we want more stuff. We want to resolve the components. And the components are actually called linked items. So we're going to do the linked items, content.modular content. So the modular content, again, comes from the GraphQL query. You see, there is content field, and we have the modular content as a sub item, or however you want to call it. And here it's actually divided based on the type. Yeah, so we're just providing the array of all the items. We're providing it to the resolver, so it knows which data to use. Perfect. So that's the linked items. And with the linked items, we also need to provide, like, I don't need these things, but we definitely need to provide a resolve linked items function. So this is the function where you essentially decide what's going to happen with the items. So we're going to get a linked item. I'm using TypeScript, so I'm just going to put here any to get rid of the messages and warnings. What you can do here is do essentially anything. You can do return hello world. In that case, you're effectively removing all the items, and just every component is going to render into a hello world. But that's not what we usually want, right? What does it want? It's not assignable. Resolve linked item. Oh yeah, typo. So it's resolve linked item only. Yeah, we get the linked item, and we can return hello world. That's perfectly fine, but it's not helping us in this case. Now, what we can do is, in the linked item, this is essentially the linked item that we get as the array item. So we can check what is the type of the linked item, because we know that if the type is a CTA, we want to render a CTA component. We know that if this type is a hero, we want to render a hero component. So we can either do a 10 ifs here, or we can do a nice switch based on the system type. And here we just need the code name of the component. Now, the code name, you can get that from Kontent. It generates automatically. Let's start with a hero, for example. So in case this is a hero component, what we want to do is return a hero component. Simple as that. And I'm just going to copy this 3 times. We just need to figure out the right code names here. So if it's a hero component, we return hero component. If this is a CTA, we return a CTA. If this is a hero, not hero component, but if this is a text with image, we need to return text with image. Of course, if you did, if you changed the name of the content types, then make sure to change that here as well. Yeah, if you name them the same way as I did, it should work for you. Right. So this is how it's going to resolve the linked item. We have 3 components here. 3 components. I think that I still need to fix the imports. These are not named imports, but these are default imports, so that we have all the components in order. But otherwise, I think we should be good to go. We have the rich text here, we have the layout here. Let's see what Gatsby thinks. So in the meantime, do we have any questions, Ondrej, or no? Everything works perfect. Okay, here we got some errors. Operation not permitted. We're deleting your site's cache. Failed to remove cache files. Okay, something's wrong with my Windows. I'm going to remove it manually. Interestingly enough, I'm running the project on an NVMe drive, which is fairly new. It's got like 6 months. So I guess I was naive thinking that this would be faster. But let's see. So here you can see that when we're looking for nodes, source and transform nodes, it took 1.5 seconds to get everything from the CMS. So that's quite fast, I think. Now, one thing I totally forgot is that we now have the template. It's probably going to show us the index page, but we haven't told Gatsby to actually generate anything with these templates. So now we're pretty much just testing the build to see if this is going to work. If it does, we're going to move to Gatsby node, and we're going to change some things there so that we can get the pages rendered. So in the meantime, tell us where you guys are from. It's always interesting to know. We are both in Czech Republic. There we go. So now it works. I'm not going to switch to Chrome now because the page is not working because we're not generating it anywhere. But the localhost 8000 means that we actually get the site working. So let's now switch to Gatsby node. Now I commented out everything here, so I'm just going to, oops. I was going to return it back. Uncomment the create page as well. Now, what we're going to be doing here is we're exporting create pages. This is essentially how you generate pages with Gatsby if you don't want to use the file system routes API. And we're getting the create page function from actions, and we're getting the landing page template. You see that the landing page template is on path source templates landing page template TSX. That's what we created just now. Landing page template TSX. Now, what we need to provide here is a GraphQL query that fetches all landing pages. And here we only need the slug and the ID. So let's switch back to the Graphql. Let me just switch this quickly. So there we go. And put it to stream. So let's get back to Graphql. I'm going to remove what we had. It's probably not going to let me that easy, but here we go. So what we're looking for right now is not just a single item, but we're looking for all content item landing pages because we want to generate all of them. And we are looking for the slug. So here we're looking for elements URL slug, because essentially we're only interested in on which URL the page should be rendered. And when we know on which URL it should be rendered, we are also looking for an ID. I hope that I'm right. If I'm not, we're going to find out soon enough. But this is what identifies the Gatsby node. So this is something that we will add to a context of the create pages so that the template knows which item to get from the Gatsby node storage. So we're looking for URL slug and an ID. Now let's see what we're going to get. We're going to get the marketer landing page because that's the only landing page that we have in the system right now. And we're going to get an ID of the Gatsby node. So I'm just going to take this. and copy paste it back to the Visual Studio. So let me switch. And add to stream. Perfect. I'm getting better at this with time. So here where there was the to-do, I'm just going to copy and paste that. I'm probably going to have to do query again. And okay, let me stop this. And when we have that, what we can actually do, so there is the result. If something goes wrong, it's going to recheck the promise, and it's going to tell us what's going wrong. That's fine. But here, what we need to do is we need to actually create the pages. So what I'm going to do is first get the pages. And look at this. So we're running a GraphQL query. The GraphQL query, if I'm not mistaken, should be provided in a variable called result. So that's what we have here. So result errors, that's if something goes wrong, but if everything goes right, we should get it in result.data. That's the result of the GraphQL query, right? And when we have that, then we can again continue with what we have in the query. So all content item landing page. All content item landing page. And here we have one extra thing, and that's nodes. Or just node. Let me quickly check the graphical. I think it's nodes. Oh, no, here's just node. Interesting. Okay, we'll see in a second. So we're going to use node and see where that takes us. So this actually means that in pages, we have these data. Now, what we want to do is we want to iterate over that because we want to run create page for every single page, right? We want to generate every single page. So I'm just going to go for pages and run for each. And for every page, now the page only holds the URL slug and the ID, right? Nothing more. So I'm just going to copy this in here. And here we need to provide a few things. First one is path. So that's the page dot, where are we? We are at node. So we need elements, URL slug, and value. So page dot elements, URL slug, and value. Next thing is component. Now, we already have that here. So that's the resolved component in the constant landing page template. So just going to copy that over. And in the context, we're transferring the ID. So that's the page ID. Now again, this is the Gatsby node storage ID. Yeah, we're not using the elements. This is Gatsby node storage. So page ID. And this is actually, here we're providing the data that the template will then work with in its own GraphQL query. So that's the same ID as we have here. Yeah. Right. So when we have it like this, I think this should be ready to go. Let's try that. Okay, again, caching stuff. Yes, terminated. Remove cache. Now, of course, in the context, you can transfer more variables here. Yeah, not just an ID. a good practice is to add here a language, for example. If you need to generate multiple languages, you can add a language in the context. Then the template knows in which language it's actually operating. So that's always good to know. Okay, cannot be property for each of undefined. So pages are undefined. How come they are undefined? Let me try nodes here. I think it was nodes. No, that wasn't it. All right, let me see. So I'm gonna comment this out and run the site, and we're gonna take a look at what's wrong there. So I want to open the Graphql so that we can see what's going on. We're going to try to run the query, see if I did something wrong. Yeah, Ondrej? I cannot hear you. Why I can? Are you muted? I still can't hear you. Oh, there we go. There.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now it works loud and clear. Do you know what's wrong here?
Yeah, definitely. You have used the edges property instead of nodes. So if you just cut out the edges,
okay.
Replace the node with nodes, you should be fine and ready to go.
Okay, perfect. So uncomment this. So we're looking for only nodes, yeah?
Yeah, you can either use edges.node or nodes directly. I think the node.
Okay. Just want to... And everything else is correct, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So I need here .nodes. Okay, let's try it. Okay, again, cache issues.
Yeah, this happens when you don't run your Visual Studio in administrator mode.
Right, yeah, maybe that's the mistake that I made. But good thing that my computer is a bit slower, because it maybe give you guys time to catch up. If there's anything that you need me to explain more, then let me know. We can definitely look at anything.
Yeah, I was trying to share as much information as possible through the chat, but if you have anything else, just let us know.
Perfect. I was building the development bundle. We're slowly going towards the site. Now let me switch again the screen. There we go. now it's the graphical. Just a few more seconds, and we're hopefully gonna see the page. No, error. Cannot find. Oh, okay. It says it can't resolve Kentico content smart link. That's because I forgot to add that package. We're gonna need it a bit later, but I'm gonna add it now so that it stops complaining. It's npm I. Well, let me switch back. Yeah, so here you can see it complains it cannot resolve the Kentico content smart link. Now, the content smart link is something that allows you to render edit buttons on top of your content, but we're going to look at that a bit later. So I'm just going to install it now so it stops complaining, because I think I left it in the layout. What's that? So npm I Kentico/content-smart-link, and we should be good to go. Now, it's a long time before you see the actual website, right? That's because I wanted to keep the components in place so that we don't have to spend time on creating the components. So that's why it takes a bit longer. But hopefully, when the build runs now, we should see the whole website in its full glory. So fingers crossed, we're going to see some stuff in a second. Oh, still something. Failed at Gatsby content sample develop script. Module not found. Can't resolve smart link. I just installed you. Okay, now I'm gonna do one small change. I'm gonna kill my Visual Studio Code and I'm gonna run it in admin mode. I think it may be complaining about some of these things because of that. All right, now let's share it again. There we go. So let me check quickly if we have that in the package JSON. This is interesting. It's showing a different file than I'm actually looking at. Can you see the package JSON now?
No.
Okay, interesting. Now let me share that again then. So maybe it doesn't like me sharing that window when it's in admin mode. Gatsby, no, it's not. Oh, maybe it just won't show package. Let me try another file. No, that also doesn't work.
No, we just see the Get.js.
Right, so I cannot, that's interesting. So I cannot run the Visual Studio Code as admin because then it won't let me stream it. Okay, so let's get back and I'm gonna just do these things manually, all right? So let me see. We're gonna present now, package JSON. Okay, now you see package JSON. Okay.
Yep.
So the dependencies has this content smart link. Let's see if the file is actually there. Smart link, I see it here. Perfect. So it should be just the cache. Nope, I don't want to install it again. npm run develop. What's going on? npm run develop.
Yeah, before the Gatsby develop finishes, you might want to add the Gatsby plugin image in your Gatsby config file.
I think I did that.
Yeah, I did that in the Gatsby config.
Oh, and not in the Gatsby config, no. But I don't need to use that, I think.
Yeah, if you're not gonna use the images, you don't need to. But if you are using images in the Gatsby image,
right,
you should use it in the Gatsby plugins.
Right. Yeah. It's right. But in my case, I don't think I'm using that anywhere. I'm always using just the image tag. So now we're building development bundle. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to work now. Well, this is good. Like I always hate it when I'm watching a YouTube video and someone is doing something, it works, everything works, and suddenly everything displays, and then you're trying to do it on your own, and you're having issues. Then you're scanning the GitHub discussions, you're scanning Stack Overflow. You don't know why it's not working for you. So I'm actually glad that something is coming up. But I have to say, like 100% of these things were just my typos, so, and the slowness of my computer so far.
Yeah, you might want to add git ignore, maybe it will help, because you have a couple of thousands.
I think I have one there.
Yeah, but not. Oops.
Yeah, could. Yeah, you're probably right. Like that, I think.
Yeah, like that, or with the asterisk.
Oh yeah. That could be interesting. Like commit all of your node modules into GitHub. All right, now let's see. The build seems to work, so I'm just gonna switch to Chrome. There we go. And add that to stream. Let's make this bigger. So now when we go to localhost 8000, we should see the Gatsby starter page. And I completely forgot, how did we name, well, let's see. See the 404 with all the generated blocks, so that's the easiest. No, we don't. Come on. There we go. So now we have the marketer landing page generated, which is what I was looking for. And it says this plugin is not supported. So there must be something that I did wrong. Let's see. So essentially, this is probably not resolved correctly. Let's see what's wrong here. Let me actually dock this. No, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to dock this to Chrome so that we can take a look. Object type. All right, so this is not resolved at all. But that's good. We need to figure out what's going on here. So this is probably the rich text. And this is unresolved elements. So let's take a look what could be wrong there. So we obviously have the template working. We get the content in there. just this doesn't work. Ondrej, do you see any obvious errors on my part?
I would check if the code name is propagated, the code name of the content type, if you have it in the query, and then I would check if you have a system code name of every single component that you are loading.
I think so. We did that, didn't we? Like here we have elements, we have system ID code name that's working. Oh, sorry, you're not. Yeah. Let me switch. So let's see. So here we're looking at the resolver slide, right? So we have the value content. Is it supposed to be value? I think yes.
Yeah, this is
length
correct.
items. This is correct. Yeah. So now let's take a look at the query, right? So we have the content, we have the modular content, we have the system ID code name of that.
Of every single type, yeah.
Of this one too, yes.
Perfect.
And this one too.
Cool.
So that seems to be.
I don't see the system.type because you're making a switch over the system.type, but you're not loading.
Right. Yeah, that's probably the problem. Yeah. True. So let me fix that here.
Type is undefined, probably.
Yeah, you're obviously right. So I totally forgot about that. So you need to provide a type for every of these components. Otherwise, because we're using that here.
Yeah,
maybe it makes sense because, yeah.
Maybe one hint, you can use the system part out of the inline fragment so that you don't need to copy and paste it for every single type you're loading, because this data are common for every single item. So you don't need to have them in every single place. You can just cut it out from the fragment. But this is just the tip. This is to show.
Right, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah. It's true that this is the same for all of the components. So yeah, good to know. But let's see. Let me switch back to Chrome. Oh, it looks better. Not that I want to spoil the news. Let's take a look at that.
Better.
You see that? Now, obviously, I was too friendly with the restrictions. You see, this isn't ideal, but I maybe make it wider. Yeah, it's a bit better. I make it wider. So this is the hero. This is the image with text. And there is the CTA. Right? So this looks cool. And finally, some reward after hour and a half of working. Now, what I want to show you now, we're quite short on time, to be honest, because of the issues. But I still want to show you one thing. Let me do one little thing here in the navigation. Like the navigation is already, or it's actually not prepared. Never mind. Let's switch back to content. What we have one landing page here, right? So what I want to do is I want to add another landing page. So I'm going to create new in content, new landing page. And again, I'm going to take the stuff from the text.txt file. And it's the Hawk's Eye rock. So I'm going to put that here. Monument of Nature, that's the title and shape. Oh, sorry. I got ahead of myself. Now this is just a landing page, right? So Hawk's Eye Rock, this is the name of a natural, let's say, monument in Ukraine. And we're just specifying the URL slug, yeah? So let's remove that here. And in the content, we're actually building the page. So I got ahead of myself. So let's create here a component. And let's call that component hero. And the headline is going to be the same. Or This is going to be the subheadline. Say the headline is going to be rock. And the CTA text is going to be take me there. And CTA link, I actually have one link that takes you there in the file. So let's put that there. And one image, I think I have one already prepared. So yeah, that's this one. So let's create that. I don't have any text with image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight to adding a CTA component. Now, obviously, I already have one CTA component in the system, in the content, but it's an inline component, so I cannot use it. So a good thing that the editor can do, because right now we want to have the same CTA on both landing pages, right? So what the editor can do is you can go in, and actually, let me make this one, let's create a new version, because we cannot touch items that are published. So we need to create a new version or unpublish it first so that we don't accidentally change some stuff on production. But when we are back in draft, what we actually can do is for the CTA component, we can convert it into a reusable item. So we just need to choose a workflow. Right now we have only one in there. And we need to name the content item. So let's call that donate CTA. Now, when it's saved, let me go back to the marketers landing page. This is the first one that I created. You see here that this one is a linked item. So this is no longer a component. You cannot change it directly here. You see it's grayed out. Yeah. So if you want to change it, you actually need to go to that item. And in the item, you directly see where it's actually being used. So you see it's here at the bottom right that is used only in the marketer's landing pages. But I'm going to change that. I'm going to first publish this. And I'm going to change the Hawk's Eye Rock landing page. And I'm going to add the CTA button here. So I don't have to create it twice. And right now I'm going to use the linked item icon. And you see there's the donate CTA. So let's add that and publish this one as well. Yeah, I want to publish that. I also want to publish the previous landing page because we've made some changes. So let's publish that one as well. And when that's ready, I'm going to go back into my implementation and I'm going to actually rebuild Gatsby site. So I don't want to switch the window. The only thing I'm doing is just killing the build and running npm run develop again. So I'm going to stick in Chrome for now. So it's compiling stuff, but what we should see is another landing page that gets created here. Okay, extracting queries from components. So one more second. In the meantime, what I'll also do is I'm going to go back to the marketer's landing page and create a link to that content item. So a new version, that's for the future, but I want to show you how we can also link between items, right? So here in the text with image, I'm just going to add here, make sure to also check out Hawk's Eye Rock. I'm going to this one, I'm going to make it a link to a content item. So you see we can link to a web URL or content item or email or asset. So I'm going to link to another content item. And we're looking for this landing page. Perfect. Now I'm going to leave it in draft state so that I don't break the build that's currently ongoing and it's finished. So what we should see now is the same landing page. Nothing changed here. So this still works as it was. And we should see another landing page under hogs by rock. So you see another landing page. Of course, we don't have any image with text here, but we have the hero image, hero texts with links.
Perfect. Ondrej, we have a JV, and they're asking about the multilingual part. I'm just replying them.
Right.
That, we are a little bit short of time, so maybe we'll just fall back to some short description.
Yeah, I can do that in just a few minutes. Hopefully, I'm going to be quite quick. But yeah, this is why I actually created another landing page, so that I can show you how you can solve the situation when you have multiple languages, but the content is not in all the languages, right? So this, you see how easy it is to create landing pages. But let's move forward, and I'm going to create a new language for the whole site, right? I'm going to use the Czech one. That's the closest to me, where the code name is S. I'm also going to change the default project language to English and EN. Okay. So now we have two languages, and if we go back to the content repository, you see that we are right now in English, yeah, in the dropdown. Let me actually publish this page so that we are working with also the link in the content. Now, when we go back to the content repository and switch to Czech, you see that not all, well, actually none of the pages are translated. So what I can do is I can translate the marketer's landing page, copy that from the previous language. And let's call that marketer's landing page in Czech, right? So let's say nice country. I don't want to, figure this out, how to translate this, but let's say that the headline will actually show us on which page we currently are, right? And what we want to do is we can definitely translate all of these components because they live only in the scope of this page, right? Oh, come on. It's trying to save the stuff, but I'm too quick. And I think that Chrome is also doing some auto updates. Okay, let's do it like this and save that. Now, there was a warning saying that, hey, there is one item linked that is not translated, right? The donate CTA, but that's fine. We're just going to work with that. Now, what you can do is, let me switch back to the Visual Studio. First of all, we have the template ready, right? So the only thing we need to do is we need to provide additional context to the template about the language. So what we can do is we can adjust this query, and we can say that we want not only the URL flag and value, but we also want preferred language. And we also want system language. The difference between these two is that the CMS is handling the language fallback for you. So why we're adding a preferred language, this is actually the language that you want the content in. So that would be Czech language in case you're in a Czech variant. But it's also going to be, there's also a field called language in system, which is the actual language of the item. So in case you don't translate something, but you still require it, the preferred language is going to be Czech, but the actual language is going to be English because it's not available in the Czech language, right? Let's see how we can do that. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to provide the language context to the template. So it's going to be page.system.language because that's the actual language, or is it the preferred language? Ondrej, what am I doing here? Preferred language.
Preferred one, yeah.
Preferred language, because the preferred language is going to be there every time different. Yeah, that's something that we want. So in this case, we're going to generate all the pages in Czech as well. Okay, let me stop this. So we're going to use the preferred language. We also need to adjust the path. So right now, we're rendering we would be rendering 2 pages on a single URL slug. So what we want to do is add here page preferred language / page elements URL slug. Right? In this case, we're generating the pages on either en or cs / the URL slug. So let's save that. And let's get back to the template, because in the template, we will need to filter that. We will need to filter on ID, but also on language. Am I right with the just language? Let me check. No, just the preferred language. That's what I'm looking for. Preferred language, because we are also using the preferred language. Right, so we're filtering the repository for landing pages, and we're looking for that language. And I think otherwise it can stay. Am I right? Let's see. And there's still the web spotlight that I wanted to show you. Anyway, guys, if you're interested to see more, let us know. We're on Discord. We're available on email as well. Let us know. We can show you the rest, some other time. But let's see if this runs. At least we can show you this little preview of how the multilingual part works. Because using the preferred language and system language, you can also resolve links that inform you whether the item is available. Oh, sorry, I can't cache stuff. Yeah, so this is going to take a second. What we also can do is we can give you the repository where everything is implemented so that you can check it for yourself. So you don't have to do anything in Kontent because the project will remain available, but you can run the implemented project on your station and take a look at how the link resolving works with multiple languages. Again, some error here. Language not defined. Language not defined by operation. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. Need to have that here as well. Yeah, I have 1.5 minutes to go. I can do this. Hopefully. Now it's on my computer. But in the meantime, Ondrej, can you submit the link for the Discord invitation in the chat? If there's anyone who would like to see more, or you need any guidance with that, let us know. Oh, come on. It's the cache again. Sorry for that, guys. Hopefully this is going to work. I'm going to switch to Chrome. Now, let's see. Now it's building the development bundle. Okay. Now maybe you can go 1 or 2 minutes over time. I hope.
Let's see if we are going to be kicked out. You have a link in, to the Discord.
Perfect. Yeah, it's building the development bundle. I think it's gonna be just a few more seconds and we're gonna be there. So just waiting for it to show me I can press the refresh button. Oh, there we go. Okay. So here, this should fail actually, because we changed the URL, right? So this should be only available under, oh. So this is not available at all, no. Okay, so I think I've made a mistake somewhere. I guess in the Gatsby node or somewhere, because it didn't create any of those pages. So yeah, hopefully if you guys want to see more, let us know on Discord. I'm happy to continue the demo. I just don't want to let other people waiting for other workshops. So sorry couldn't make this happen, but let us know if you want to see more. Happy to show you. Anyway, thank you for joining. Hope you liked it. If there's any questions, let us know on Discord or here in the chat. In personal chat or in the lounge, we're happy to answer anything. Thank you so much, and yeah, see you next time.
See you. Bye.
Bye.